love Pokemon, but are looking for something a little different, a bit more innovative. No. Not that innovative. I'm talking about playing Pokemon in a whole new way, while still staying true to its core mechanics. And no, I'm not talking about Nuzlocke. I'm talking about a Pokemon roguelike. Look out, world! Here comes the newest Pokemon Master. PokeRogue, for those of you who don't know, is a free fan-made Pokemon browser game that, as the name suggests, takes the traditional formula of capture Pokemon, explore different areas, and battle it out to be the very best, like no one ever was, and puts a roguelike spin on it. A very challenging one at that. And personally, I can't decide if I love it or absolutely hate it.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's one of those games. I think we all know the type. Fun, challenging, infuriating, and addictive as all hell. Game freak, you might want to sit down and take some notes.
Write that down!
Created by PageFault Games, PokeRogue starts out simple and unassuming enough, though maybe not as clear as possible, offering really little to no explanation on how to play or even what to do. Unless of course you're taking the time to go through and read the wiki, which, let's be real here, reading? We're not doing that. So I guess for a little bit, I'll take on the role of the Pokedex to help get this journey started, and we'll see if it's worth our time. And to this game's credit, getting started is super easy, as there's no real sign up required, which is a nice change of pace in this day and age. So starting up a new game, you'll find that you have multiple boxes of Pokemon, one for each generation. Except, you'll notice that all of the Pokemon in them are grayed out, minus the starters of each generation. Well, except for these two, but I don't feel bad for them. They're broken-ass partner versions made into the game. Though, still no Z-moves. Hovering over them, you can get the full rundown on each Mon, their abilities, their IVs, starting move, genders, the whole works. And you'll probably notice that all the starters are basically the same stat-wise. For now, anyways. But the real numbers you want to take a look at are these two right here. The 0 out of 10 at the bottom and the small number next to each Pokemon. To keep it simple, every Pokemon is given a value and your starting team can be any combination of Pokemon that you currently have as long as that value doesn't exceed 10. And as you catch them all, your party comp options will start to grow with every new run. Okay, so now that we've chosen our team, and because every great Pokemon trainer comes from a podunk little town in the middle of nowhere, regardless of how many times you set out, your adventure is always going to start out in a meadowy area. I think we all know the one. It's where all these guys reside, as you are attacked by your first Pokemon. And here is where the biggest change to the traditional Pokemon adventure hits hard. There's no walking around, no puzzles to solve, NPCs to talk to, there's not even any exploration. At least, not in the traditional sense. There is only battle. Which is literally from the start of the game, all the way till the end. Unless of course you are playing the endless mode, in which case, you will battle forever. Or until you fall. Plus, this mode actually ditches all the trainer battles. It rotates through the biomes twice as fast, and it's really just overall a great method if you really want to catch them all. But you need to beat the campaign to unlock that, so we're going to go ahead and stick with that, which is mostly broken down like this. Every 10 stages, you will find yourself in a different biome. A forest, ocean, power plant, freaking space! Pretty much any inhabitant you can expect to find a Pokemon in, you'll find in this game. Which also impacts the weather conditions and what Pokemon and Pokemon trainers you're gonna encounter. While not set in stone, these stages do follow a bit of a pattern. There will be a handful of Pokemon encounters, which includes double battles, usually one trainer battle, and midway through my time with the game, gauntlets against enemy teams was also implemented here too. Regardless though, every 10th fight is a bout against a boss Pokemon or a gym leader. And of course, how could we call it Pokemon without your rival? And arguably the toughest rival the franchise has ever seen. popping up at certain intervals to just chuck a wrench right into your well-made plans, as well as revealing the underlying story that's been slowly bubbling to the surface. Assuming, of course, you make it that far, but it is pretty clever, so don't count it out. Still, overall, it's straightforward enough. Keep battling and winning until you reach the final boss, or you lose. And as any roguelike fan will tell you, it's taking those L's, accumulating your gains, and rising from the ashes even stronger than before that is the driving force of the genre. And it's how we become the very best that is so addicting. And a little bit annoying. And it all starts with, what else? The Pokemon. Running into a wild Pokemon, you are met with the same options that you are in the mainline games. You can choose to fight it to knock it out, you can weaken it for capture, or you can turn tail and run. The only real difference here is that your items consist of Pokeballs, and that's it. Which of course is crucial. There is no healing during combat, except from healing moves, abilities, and of course held berries. But, unlike say, a Nuzlocke, a Pokemon fainting doesn't mean it's gone. Though it can definitely mean that you are royally screwed. Oh, there is a fun challenge for you super hardcore gamers. Let's see you guys apply the Nuzlocke rules to this game. See how far you can go. I'm genuinely curious to see if anyone can actually beat the game doing this. And who knows, maybe you'll even get as far as I did.
Dude, you haven't even left Pallet Town yet.
Excuse me? That is no way to talk to a future Pokemon master.
It's been 3 days, dude.
Now, in a glorious twist on the formula, there are so many more benefits to catching Pokemon than ever before. But there are also a few added limitations too, with the main one being that there is no PC. If you catch more than 6 Pokemon, you gotta choose if you want to release it or add it to the party by releasing something else. Though, let me tell you right now, you want to catch as many Pokemon as possible since the benefits are absolutely worth it. First off, catching a Pokemon in the wild means that it is available as a starter to pick in future runs, or at least its first form is. So, if for example I catch a Gyarados, that means I can start my next run with a Magikarp. Yay! Second, a caught Pokemon stats are added or averaged. I'm honestly not quite sure how it works, but it's added to your future Pokemon's overall stats. So basically, if you catch a Charmander with a high attack stat, and then catch one with a high defense stat, your starter will have both. Meaning that yes, it is possible to grind out a perfect Pokemon.
Bidoof.
And those same perks apply to natures, abilities, and even shiny palettes. But yeah, basically, the more you catch, the stronger you become for your next go-around. And that's only the tip of the Bergmite! Broken secondary abilities, egg moves that Mons should definitely not have access to in the mainline games, and more are yours to discover. And man, you are gonna need to find them, as this campaign is rough. Honestly, this is easily the most difficult Pokemon game I have ever played. Because, like most roguelikes, it's all about survival. Now, I've already said that you can't use healing items during combat, but that doesn't mean you can't use them outside of it. Though, wow, I guess there's no escaping inflation in any universe. Thank Arceus for gambling. And by that, I mean that after every time you defeat an opponent, no running. You get a bunch of random drops that can range from potions to lures, Pokeballs to berries, and pretty much any of the other minor goods that you can think of.
What are you buying?
But if the RNG gods look favorably upon you, you may be blessed with more than just consumables. From Mega Rings to Mega Stones, Dynamax items, Amulet coins, experience shares, and even DNA splicers. Basically everything a good trainer needs to guarantee success. And if you really want to up those odds, it's time to shiny hunt. Oh yes, shiny hunters, those sparkling beauties that you all sought so much actually have a purpose in this game beyond bragging rights. And what's more, they add another flavor of uniqueness to this game, with the inclusion of shiny variants that just look awesome, alongside bringing even greater luck. And can I just take a moment to mention the amazing sprite work? Now, obviously, just like the fantastic music, it's all straight from Nintendo's classics. The sprites are rips. Except that on top of the custom shiny palettes, custom sprites for all of the new Pokemon that have never really existed outside of 3D are here too. And honestly, if I didn't know better, I would have thought that they were official Game Freak sprites. They just look amazing. The only downside here is that the new mons, they aren't animated. Wait, back that up. While I was editing this video, animations for these mons dropped. Though some are a little bit janky, but it's not that big a deal. But now it's time we got to what is. The actual deal breakers here, which honestly probably apply most to the younger or more casual fans, though I tend to look at them more as double-edged swords. And that would be the difficulty and the RNG. Difficulty-wise, PokeRogue shows no mercy. And honestly, I kinda like that about it. It's the really challenging Pokemon title that older players have been craving since, well, forever. And come on, that is basically why fans created the Nuzlocke format. That yearning. Having opponents that really make you think about your strategies and try to predict their moves. Almost like a real person. Minus, all that meta stuff that makes the competitive play a bit stale at times. I want to see a super competitive, devastating Jigglypuff. On top of all of that, the game actually forces you to conserve your strength so that you're prepared for the next battle. This is easily the most exhilarating Pokemon has ever been. But I do think that PokeRogue, in my opinion at least, pushes this a bit too far. And let's be clear, I'm not talking about the standard stuff, like getting wiped out due to an unfortunate mismatch, maybe you didn't have enough money to completely heal up before a big fight, and of course, like in all Pokemon games, there's always going to be that infuriating miss or flinch that completely screws you over. Come on, it happens, that's just the roguelike nature I play. But there are absolutely a few major difficulty spikes that new players definitely won't see coming. And they can be pretty cheap. With the biggest one that most players who've taken their shot will acknowledge being at stage 145. 3/4 of the way through the game, by the way. It feels real bad to lose here from such a cheap ambush. And this really only starts to get worse as opponents start to shift from the thrilling challenges to downright cheap, as bosses show up with extra health bars and seemingly endless citrus and lum berries, turning enemy teams from 6 to essentially 12, and breaking a lot of what would otherwise be viable strategies. And you can all just stop typing in the comments section, I am well aware of other strategies to counter this. A Pokemon with Unnerve is a great choice, just to name one. But I'm just bringing it up. It can get overly frustrating when you get smacked down after what could be some very long runs, just because an enemy is loaded to the brim with items. Oh, and speaking of long runs, pro tip. A full playthrough of the story is actually 200 stages, and assuming you win, can take hours. And that's not including restarts due to, that pesky status ailment. What's that called again? Oh right, death. Such an inconvenience. So it's easy to say that you might be in it for the long haul. Fortunately, the options menu offer up a lot of ways to speed up the game, from increasing text speed, showing less stat changes, getting rid of battle animations, I don't really like that one though, as well as just flat out letting you enable retries, which is not the default by the way. Yeah, screw losing a run, just have another go at it. Really, just play however brings you the most enjoyment. But either way, you're still probably gonna need to pray to this jackass. Seriously, I had an entire team of Pokemon that could Mega Evolve and the Mega Bracelet, but did I ever get a Mega Stone? No. And I'm not just being spiteful. Mostly. Yeah, if I have any real umbrage with this game, it comes down to the RNG, or more so, how many things are dictated by it, and how little there is for you to counter it. From the Pokemon you find on your journey, which of course includes all of the micro elements attached to them, stats, abilities, natures, movesets, if they're shiny, etc, etc, etc. The item drops, biomes, enemy trainers, including enemy teams, gym leaders, and of course the Elite Four. PokeRogue even features a gacha system for getting new eggs with those aforementioned busted egg moves. And honestly, if that doesn't say it all, I don't know what will. Though, at the very least, there are no microtransactions here. Thank Arceus. Now, normally, this wouldn't be such a big deal, as PokeRogue, like in most roguelikes, lets you get stronger with each run, pushing you forward as you increase your odds for victory, slowly chipping away at RNG's grip on you. Except it is way too slow here, since again you have to catch so many of the same Pokemon in hopes of powering up the ones you actually want to make stronger. And who knows if you're going to even get the right biome, hatch the right Mon, let alone run into that Pokemon over and over and over again. And don't even get me started on the candies. Those take forever to grind out. Though, of course, it is worth reiterating, this game is still getting updated as of this review, so hey, maybe it'll get smoothed out in a bit too. Who really knows? But even if nothing changes, those runs I had were still something special. They bring a freshness to the Pokemon franchise that hasn't been seen in a long time. It is a true love letter from the fans to the Pokemon franchise and the gaming community as a whole. If you fancy yourself a Pokemon fan, you owe it to yourself to check it out. Just know that you need to be prepared for some high highs and frustrating lows. That, and you'll be going on so many journeys that it'll make even Ash Ketchum blush.